Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady with my co-host JC.
It's my pleasure to be back here helping deal with difficult people through our conversations on these episodes.
So our podcast series is about dealing with difficult people, and we know that unpleasant people or somebody who has an off day might be present in your workplace or even in your home life. Let's go through some tips for dealing with difficult people and how to diffuse and resolve situations.
Look, ultimately, at the end of the day, you can't reason with someone who just won't listen. But there are ways to handle tricky situations, and it's been tried and tested. Some ways to stop a verbal argument from getting worse are to very simply listen, stay calm, look for the hidden need in the discussion. Keep in mind that there's no one singular right answer. You're going to need to be flexible. So talking about those tips, Wendy, and these tips also do help promote a very positive mindset. Number one, top of the list, already mentioned, listen. Listen to unreasonable individuals first. Everybody wants to be heard at the end of the day. Progress is impossible unless the other person feels noticed and listens without thinking about what you'll say next. What do you think about that one?
Well, it's interesting. That's the first on our list here is listening, because you already said in the beginning, sometimes difficult people you feel like they're just not listening. Just because they're not listening doesn't mean that you should stop listening. Yeah. And so in order to listening, like we talked about in the first podcast of this series, is we have to put away distractions. So that multitasking, while you mean well because you're trying to solve a problem in the moment, please put away your phone, turn off your laptop, unless, of course, you're on it in a Zoom conversation. I personally, like what I did, right before we started this podcast, I made sure I turned off my email because my email makes noises. Yeah. And then for many of you, your email, for example, or maybe you have news apps on your browsers, they pop up while you're talking. And then you're like, oh, what's that over there? And then you stop listening to whether it's a reasonable person or what you deem as an unreasonable person. So listening means paying attention. For some of you, you may have to grab a pen and start taking notes when the person has what I call the word vomit, and they're telling you all this stuff. You need to make sure, though, if you are grabbing a pen to take notes because there's so much, let them know that's what you're doing. Otherwise, they may think, look, Wendy's not listening because she's taking notes on something else or creating her grocery list over there.
Oh, my gosh, absolutely. Especially if you're one that takes your notes on your cell phone or electronic device. Yeah. It could be misconstrued as you're very simply online screwing around. I've got two more here for you, Wendy. The next one is relax. It's easy to get caught up in a very heated scenario. Just breathe. Stay calm. Take the deep breaths. And the next one is disregard. You don't know their situation. A person acting unreasonable is likely vulnerable or afraid.
Yeah, it's 100% true. You want them to trust you, and they may not trust you, so you have to earn that trust. But staying calm is very difficult for many people, including myself. And so how do you stay calm? You take slow, deep breaths in and out. It's psychologically and scientifically proven that if you take several deep breaths in very slowly and then out, it signals to your brain that you're okay. You're not in danger. You're okay. The lion's not coming at you. This is just a conversation. But it's sometimes hard to do that because when you do those deep breaths, you're signaling to the other person, I have to take deep breaths to be around you.
or you could be burning the candle at both ends, struggling with time change. Next thing you know, you're falling asleep while you're talking to the person. That's never good either, Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard to take those deep breaths and not signal, boom, boom, boom. You make me feel like I'm losing control. So you have to practice. Practice makes perfect.
All right. That last time I hit you with 2. This time I'm going to give you 4 tips right here that stay in line with those. Respect others. No matter how someone treats you, contempt won't help. And find the hidden need. What does the person want? What are they avoiding? Find that hidden need. You might have to do a little analysis, dig deeper. Look for nearby people that could help out. If someone's upset, check for someone else nearby that might be able to give a hand. And ultimately, don't insist. If you tell an agitated person to calm down, they don't calm down.
No, because you're basically saying, calm down because you're out of control.
Right.
That never goes well in any conversation in the workplace or at home.
Exactly. And if you tell someone that I understand, sometimes depending on the way that you say that, you could actually aggravate people. So if you rephrase that to very simply say, tell me more to help me understand, that reframes the statement in a very positive way, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's a great point, JC. If you're saying I understand, they may say, no, you've never been in my shoes. You don't understand. And if you understood, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you having this, crucial conversation or difficult conversation. Just remember that every human being is different. So the tips and in the situations that we're going to go over through the remainder of these podcast series, you have to make sure that you take every single individual situation as an individual unique situation. If you're just doing copy and paste and here are the 10 tips that they told me to go through, then you're probably going to screw things up and you may make that situation even more difficult.
I'm going to hit the gas on a few final ones real quick. I know you want to close, but these last ones are real important, Wendy. Avoid smiling. Believe it or not, it could appear sarcastic and it could come off the wrong way, depending on the way that you're smiling. Don't be non-defensive. Don't be defensive about things. That's really hard to do. Resist anger. Raising your voice, pointing your finger, being impolite, it could escalate things. Don't debate or try to persuade, and keep your distance if you need to. And ultimately, at the end of the day, a very simple "I'm sorry" or "I'll try to fix this" could diffuse many situations. Back to you.
Absolutely. And one more thing that I want to add, and then we're going to close and go to our next session here, is when you resolve or finish the conversation and hopefully resolve the issue or agree that you're going to work on resolving the issue, make sure you do a debrief. Like, hey, this is what you came in here today to talk to me about. This is where we're at. Are we on the same page now? And then that way they're walking away from that conversation. And this is at home as well, making sure that you're on the same page, because as the HR lady, I get phone calls from employers and employees, and they are not on the same page. We'll be right back in a moment to talk about, do difficult people know that they're difficult? See you shortly.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.